Okay. Namaste. We have started recording. Go ahead, share your experiences.
There we go.
You want me to go first? Experiences for the last 2 weeks?
Yep.
Well, more and more I'm experiencing yoga as a less. I know I mentioned this last time, but it's more present in my daily life too, not just in my practice. More as a state and way of life and way of being, and that experience, just washing dishes or making dinner, it's yoga if the attention is there. That's my experience these past couple of weeks, and I really I keep wanting to get closer and keep wishing to, and then when I'm in another state, then it's who's this, who's here, where's that, and even that it's sometimes the current is so strong that I even can't, even if I think about the state that I've always wished to strive for, I'm not wishing for it. In fact, it's too out of my reach, and I get pulled so far away from it. And that's an interesting thing for me to experience and see, because I'm not, what I think I am all the time, or what I wish to be. And it's a harsh awakening in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm also interested in, this could be another time. I think about experiences that I've had. I can't list them all right now, but there are more, like, for example, when my father died, I got a jolt in my solar plexus. It's almost as, and then I knew that he died. I knew it, even though he was in Canada and I was in New York City. And then, I had a miscarriage, and I experienced like a swoosh from my body, and I started crying. I called my husband. I said, "We lost the baby. I know we lost the baby," and we did. So it's like, I'm wondering about those kinds of things. If other things have happened to me too. Like I don't go into it because it's going to take a lot of time. But I'm just interested in that. Is that important? What is that? Is it real? Is it no?
Okay. I'm sorry, was there a question in the last question? I couldn't hear properly.
The question is it something that I should, allow just to be, or should I ignore it and think it's just monarchy, or just accept it and continue to live my life and see what
Yeah.
It's just a question.
Oh, okay. First of all, such personal experience are very, very, very difficult to map. No words can minimize the loss, nor can it minimize the emotional stress it creates. It cannot be minimized. Having said that, from yoga and philosophy perspective, everybody's life has its own measures of such sadness. It's unavoidable. One has to take it and move on, because in India they tell a lot of stories. Like I told you the other day about Puranas, they even tell that even when God Vishnu took an avatar as a human being to be a role model or guide people here, even he had to go through enormous amount of personal loss. So the sadness, losing people, losing the near ones, dear ones, everything. And there are two messages in that. One is that as long as we are born in this world, whoever it is, there will be loss. What we define as loss, there will be. That is one message. We have to take it and move on. To take life with it. At the same time, it doesn't mean that you have to ignore it or minimize or disrespect it. Every one of us try to cope up and show it our own respective way. There's no unique way. But internal to us, we have to recognize this is something which is inevitable. Because let's not forget one thing, even we ourselves are going to go one day. Therefore, we are going to inflict upon our near and dear ones the same pain which we felt. We're not going to be spared from that. Therefore, it tells us that take this life as it comes and move on. That is one message which comes. And another message which comes is that if we are willing to be a lot more contemplative, it tells us that all these relationships which you had, father, mother, daughter, baby, sister, etc., you related only to this body, not to you. And you are not the body. And therefore, when you gain the relationship, it is the body which creates the relationship. When you lose the relationship, it is the body which does. You, as a real you, have no relationship with anyone whatsoever because you do not belong in the realm of your relationship defined living. Therefore, you watch the whole thing as a drama and just ignore it. Is another message which is given. Why there are two messages? Because it clearly understands that the second message, however true it is, probably the second message is truer than the first one. That is, you are not the body, and therefore you do not have a relationship. Therefore, you should watch this as a drama and move on. Is the second message, which is probably truer, but probably 99% of the people cannot handle it. Like the American movie says, you can't handle the truth, which is very true. You just can't handle the truth. Then what do we do? So instead of discouraging, saying that, oh, you are so weak, you cannot handle the truth, they give a second message, or which is the first message, saying that these things happen to everybody, even when the God himself is born as a human being. He has to undergo, or when goddesses have taken birth, and they have also undergone a similar, etc. So where are you? You are an ordinary mortal, where they are all avatars. Therefore, everybody will have their own measure of joyful moments and sorrowful moments. Learn to treat both of them. It doesn't say ignore it. It only says learn to treat both of them equitably. What it means is respond with happiness or respond with sorrow proportional to the intensity of the loss. Don't, in simple language, it says don't overreact and don't carry forward. You have happy moments, enjoy it and move on. You have sorrowful moments, suffer it and move on. That's what they say. But probably some of these things are easier said, particularly me as a man, it's very difficult for me to understand the pain which a woman feels when it comes to loss of children. That's something which a man will never ever get to understand. Therefore, my conversation or my suggestion would be very, very theoretical, reading from the books. It can never come from my personal experience. But having read the stories which are told from about not only the man gods, the woman gods also. Both the stories I tell the same thing. So I would imagine the message being that life is, in fact, some philosophers, particularly Vaishnava type philosophers in India, the very definition which we give to the life which we lead, the life which all of us lead is called a samsara life. Unlike the yogis who sit in the caves, etc., we have our own relationship, materialistic life which we lead is called a samsara life. The way they define the samsara life itself is like this. It is a way of living in which an entity is pulled up and down by joy and sorrow incessantly. That is what samsara is. In fact, they define it as some kind of an ocean where you can never expect the waves to stop. Waves keep on coming and hitting you in the shore. Likewise, repetitively, joyful moments and sorrowful moments will keep on hitting you as long as you are in samsara. That is how they define. Therefore, you live those terrible moments and do not carry it forward. That is the whole thing I can say, but obviously it is easier said than done. Psychologically, they say it is strategic advice because if you do not know how to move forward, what happens is every time you remember that, every time you talk about it, you go through the same pain. And therefore, they rhetorically ask, do you want to suffer once or do you want to suffer many times for the same thing? It's a bitter pill, but it is a pill. I'm very sorry, I don't know how satisfactory my answer is. It's the best I can give you.
No, it's good. Thank you.
As an antidote, that is why in India, as an antidote, what they say is when such severe sadness, very, shall we say, if we lose, again, I have to be very careful. If we lose, let us say, old parents who lived a long life, 80 years, 90 years, who have seen all the life, who have grandkids and children to the grandkids and all kind of things, and they have lived their measure. Then when they depart, in fact, in India, many of such deaths are celebrated actually. They say you should not cry. When such very old people die, you should not cry. Because for them, for such old people, on the one hand, they have finished their life, enjoyed their life, they're reasonably successful, give or plus or minus, and they no longer can hold the body. Body is so weak. In fact, every day they live is going to be more suffering than death. And at any rate, their journey is over. They have to take the next journey. Therefore, you really celebrate such deaths. That is one way the Indian society try to cope with the departure of very old parents and relatives by converting the whole death ceremony. Everything is a ceremony in India. A death-related ceremony is a joyful exercise. Literally, they sing, they dance, and do all kind of things. And sometimes it looks bizarre, but that's what they do. It does that. But when we lose somebody younger or much, much smaller, then the way the India tells is that, the Indian tourists tell is that you have a big capacity to show love. Not only to take love, but to show love. You have a very large part of love, affection, care. And now, because that younger people have departed, you don't know what to do with that. So they say that if possible, turn it towards loving others. For example, serve people. There could be, it depends upon individual choice, what kind of people. Some people go and serve older people, some people go and serve younger kids in orphanages and so on and so forth. People make a different kind of choices, but nevertheless, those are the avenues through which your fulfilled. I don't know how to say fulfilled means you're receiving something. Even in giving, there is some kind of a satisfaction, right? That is met, they say that, therefore they encourage to do that. And another way they do is to treat Krishna himself as a small baby and small child. A lot of stories are told. Then you start celebrating Krishna every day. Then your the motherhood in you, the role of being a mother, which has got so much affection towards small children, it gets an avenue to be dealt with. That way also people get enormous peace, and particularly when then turn it as towards a Krishna, then what happens is it becomes purer, not a selfish love, selfless love it becomes, and then it becomes a purifying exercise. That's another way they suggest. So I don't know. Again, I know I'm inadequate, but this is the best I can muster. Okay, Miral.
Hello. Uh, yes, I think I really appreciate your answer, Mr. Rao, because sometimes I used to feel kind of not guilty, but for example, when my grandparents passed away and my father passed away, they were all very sick. And I was so happy for them. Then finally just shed the body, which was very ill, and just move on. Of course, my mother looked at me like, what's wrong with you? I was so happy for my father when he passed on. And I could actually feel him, at night. Maybe it was just my imagination swirling around me, like energetically. But anyway, so I like this very kind of logical mind in that sense. So I'm not too emotional about these things, but I can understand that it can be very painful. And I feel very sorry, Mary, that you had to experience this. About myself, I practice meditation, Mr. Rao. Every morning I get up 6 o'clock in the morning, as I told you. Now I got to a point when I can sit very comfortable, absolutely cross legs, yes, absolutely. Half lotus, I would say half an hour with no pain. But I cannot still sit in full lotus because of my knee injury, what I had some time ago. And I'm working on it very cautiously and carefully and gradually because I don't want to get injury again. And in meditation in the morning, I do a lot of breathing and, of course, these movements that I showed you, to open my hip joint more. And I kind of breathe up, close my anus, breathe up, pull up, and then I push everything down in my belly. And I got through a difficult period when I felt that the left side of my brain used to be blocked. But I think I opened it. I'm not sure because it doesn't feel heavy anymore. And also, what else? Yes, it's getting very comfortable. And as I'm breathing in the mornings, I recognize that I really need to change my diet. In the school, Mr. Rao, Mary remembers, I had to do a book review on Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the first 2 chapters, and I was so terrified. But I was really impressed with some of the chapters because it gives so much hope that a person can do it. Like, at least it gave it to me. and it says that the diet is very important. So I started to eat differently now. I mean, I don't eat meat, but once in a blue moon, I used to eat eggs, which I know is an absolute no-no, but I used to eat eggs and a lot of carbs. And right now, I can report that to you that I'm losing my big belly a little bit. I'm so happy because now I can bend forward easier, and it's not in my way. And then also I recognize, Mr. Rao, as I was sitting one morning very comfortable. I remember, Mr. Rao, that many years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, I really used to practice meditation. And I have experienced at one time on their own, my eyes, they turned inward. Can you imagine this? On their own. I don't know how it happened. It happened on its own. I don't know if that's part of meditation or I'm not looking forward to it. But this has happened. It just came back in my memory that happened. And also, while I was at work and I'm very busy lately, I had a half an hour break and I sat down and I could feel the energy down in my belly. And then suddenly I focused down in one point. And I recognize that also, that now I understand why you.
We lost you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Can you hear?
Yes.
So if I focus down one point in my belly and I can feel it, it's a very energetic feeling. And I focus. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of strength to focus on that one point down in the belly. And I recognize that I'm still weak for that. So I don't know how can I will just keep practicing. I think I'm a little bit stuck because I don't know, I have to do like more physical practice, or the brain has to be stronger, or the body has to be stronger to able to focus on one point. I don't know. And then also, I can feel the body, like if I want to, I can feel inside the body. And probably you do that also, Mary, when you practice yoga, right? You can feel like, where do I have difficulties in the body and what do I have to release and things like that, right? So that's all. That's my report.
Oh, good. Excellent. I mean, of course, food is very much connected to.
Look, this is my food here. Can you see? It's grape and like these nuts.
Very nice. That's a very healthy food. That's what many of us should do. Because definitely food has got an influence. Even Western medicine says that, right? You are what you eat is what they say. So definitely having what is called satvika food. The three gunas which we talk about, rajas, tamas, and sattva. Rajas means hyperactive. Tamas means lackadaisical, lazy, negative. Whereas sattva is all positive. Therefore, any food which agitates our mind, makes it very either lazy, sleepy, or negative, it should be avoided. Any food which can really invigorate our passion should be avoided. There's no point in triggering our passion and then trying to control it. Therefore, food is a very important stuff in this whole game. Therefore, I am happy that you're focusing on that. And again, like I said, one of the tricks some of the many of the Indian people do that is to integrate this in day-to-day life. Like Mary every time tells us, right? I spend a lot of time in washing, cooking, and things like that, right? Now, there are two ways of dealing with that. Either we detest what we are doing, but having made a choice to live this samsara life, detesting the associated activities doesn't sound very logical. Because we made the choice, whether we can say under duress, under compulsion, I didn't know enough, we can explain it away. But fact of the matter is we chose this particular lifestyle. To unburden all of us, that's the key word I keep mentioning every time. Nothing is a burden here in Indian thought process. You make a choice, there is associated good and associated bad, which will always come along with that. So the only approach they take is, how do you convert it into your advantage, right? For example, however much Miral wishes She cannot ignore her mother in her home country. She cannot. She just cannot. She cannot abandon everything and go to Himalayas. She cannot do that. So what do? You have two choices. Either to feel terribly bad about it and cry, or make the best use of it. So the Indian system, particularly Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and other places, that's what he tells. This is what it is. You are given this game, play it very well. That's all you do. How can you convert it into an effective thing? Likewise, if you have a lot of household activities, how do you convert it? So what they do is in India, I think mentioned briefly last time, from the morning you wake up till you go to sleep night, they divide it in multiple parts and they look at what are the activities people do and connect each and every washing, taking bath, or well, for example, even while taking bath, you can mentally pour water on yourself, either through shower or through whichever may hand shower or whatever. You imagine that you're actually there is a ceremony in India where you pour a lot of holy water on idols, right? On God's idols. So you think that Deho Devalaya is a statement. Body is a temple, it means. You treat your own body as a temple. So when you're pouring water on yourself, you say a few mantras, which is similar to what one does in Indian traditional Hindu worship, where you take the idol of gods and pour water on it as a purification ceremony. So that's how they couple everything. When you cook food, you always ensure that the food is ready. You first mentally offer to God before giving to anybody else. It's called the Naivedya concept. Likewise, while in olden times, they didn't have machines to help us, therefore everybody was doing manually jobs. So they used to sing songs in praise of God when they are pounding grains, when they are churning milk to form curd, butter, those kind of butter to make butter. Likewise, even the menial activities, they combined by singing devotional songs. Likewise, each and every part of the day was calibrated to remind us and devote our time towards thinking about God and purifying our mind. That's the technique they introduced. It is called samskaras. They defined some minimum 16 and maximum 52 samskaras, which a living person can do before he or she passes away, and which will connect with various activities of life, and each of them are tied towards thinking about Ishvara, Ishvara, Ishvara. That way, the whole day becomes joyful. Even the menial job becomes joyful. That's the way the technique they followed. Now, in the modern times, we have moved quite a lot away from that, but still we can integrate as much as possible. The point of fact is, the card which you are dealt with in this life, that is where we are today as a husband, as a wife, as a mother, as a father, as a daughter, or whatever. Do not disrespect it. Why? King, it is a terrible situation. I wanted to be something else, but I'm here. Therefore, I don't like this. That is disrespecting, because everything happens as per the will of Ishvara. Ishvara gave me this, gave you both that, because he knows for the mental state which you have, the preparedness which you have in this particular janma we don't call avatara is a word reserved for gods. For human beings, we call it as a janma, the instance, like this birth. For this birth, this is the best starting point for you. So, by his infinite will and compassion, Ishvara has chosen this starting point in your life to continue your journey. It is like saying, when we are very, very small, our parents take us here, there, and guide us properly. It is like doubting the parents, saying that, are they really interested in me? Why are they telling me not to jump into this water? I want to have fun. They are not allowing me. Do they really care for me? It's like that thinking. The best is we are being steered every minute of our life by Ishvara's will. Then what happens is we do not feel bad for not doing this or not doing that. We are happy for the opportunity given. Because I can assure you, having come from India, I can assure you, the photo, the background, what you see is a place called Hardwar. Rishikesh, it is called. It's in a northern state near Himalayas. This particular place is considered to be the abode of all yogis. I mean, that's where all yoga started, and you can everywhere there's yoga school and ashrams and all sadhus and yogis and all of them roam around and things like that. That is the background place. I have this in my background. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, coming from such a land, I can tell you, Mary, a person like you in India with 4 or 5 children will never be doing what you're doing. Zero, I would say hardly 1% of the people in India in your situation will be doing what you're doing. And India is the land of all these thoughts, method, yogis. Everywhere you turn, there is an ashram and all the stuff. In spite of all that being available, even 1% of people who are in your situation are doing what you are doing. Likewise, Mirel, my wife keeps on telling me that you have to be very careful and respectful to Mirel. Do not, you need to be pure enough to talk to Mirel. That's the way she tells me.
Oh, oh no. Please tell Mrs. Rao that I'm full of everything. No, absolutely not.
You see the point. The point I totally agree with that. The point she's making, which I totally agree, is this: how many in India are willing to devote the entire life for yoga? How many? Forget about women. How many men are willing to do that? You see the point. Therefore, both of you are far, 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 far ahead of millions and hundreds of millions of men and women in India. Think of that. You did not have probably even 1% of opportunity and guidance which those people in India have. In India, if you open any TV channel, it's always full of religious things and discourses. I mean, all kind of Bollywood also goes around. I'm not saying no, but avenue is there. But here it is not like that. So why, of all the people, there are 7.5 billion people in the world. Out of the 7.5 billion people, why did Ishvara choose 2 of you and maybe another million people like you spread across the world maybe? Since I'm talking to both of you, I'm saying, why did Ishvara choose 2 of you to progress this far? Think about that. That is because of his choice. Why did he make that choice? The choice was made based on a decision-making process. What is the decision-making process? What is the accumulated good karma which both of you have accumulated in all your previous janmas, births?
Sorry.
Okay. Based on that evaluation, Ishvara has decided. So you must be, the very fact that you are far ahead of hundreds of millions of people in India should give you enough reason to celebrate. It's not about denigrating anybody. I'm not denigrating the people, those people in India. I'm not doing that. I'm only saying, for Ishvara, the universe is the territory, a single country. Not just Earth. Whole universe is territory. He treats everybody the same. Therefore, he makes a judgment saying that, okay, this person has made so much, I will put him here. I'm telling in a very crude language, but to make a point. Therefore, feel happy about it. Feel proud, a positive pride, not an egoistic pride, a positive pride about it that Ishvara is with you. I understand the desperation is there. Why can't I see Ishvara the way I want to see him? That's the operative word. You are seeing Ishvara every minute, every day in life. But you are not recognizing that because you have predetermined you want to see Ishvara in a particular way. You predefine in your head. But the assurance is Ishvara will appear the way you want him to appear, the way you want her to appear, depending upon how you view Ishvara as a woman or a man, Ishvara will appear. That is assurance in Bhagavad Gita Krishna gives. Whichever way you want me to worship, whichever way you want to worship me, I will come that way. That is the assurance given. It is not a bombastic theological assurance. When we see this Patanjali Yoga Sutra, we can understand why that assurance is given. Because we define the Ishvara is defined as that entity which transcends time, space, the realm of good karma and bad karma, so on and so forth. That is considered to be Ishvara. So, yes, sorry, the connection dropped. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, Shao, I have Shraddha. I mean, maybe, I didn't call it Ishvara, but I do believe in a power, which is like behind everything. And I also believe in that very seriously and, just fully, that everything just happens the way it should happen. And also I believe in that at some part of us, when we get stronger, we are actually create our life. And it took me a long time to get to a point that I realized that, yes, I am creating my own life in every second. And it's very easy to, sometimes now I see that people, they blaming other people for their situation. But actually, we create everything in our life. So for example, yes, you're right, I'm going to read a lot more about the Hindu saints and the life story of them, because I can learn a lot from it, because they are all things they based on human experiences in my mind. But I know Buddha's life because I used to practice with Buddhist people, Kung Fu. So I read Buddha life, and look at Buddha. Buddha got up and left his wife as his young child and went away and didn't care about anything, left everything behind, and took him 12 years, I think. Practiced also a lot of yoga. Took him 12 years to get enlightened. And that's what it takes. If someone really wants to go ahead, you have to go ahead. But it's very difficult. I mean, many people, because they don't understand that many people, they condemn Buddha, like why he left his wife and a newborn child, a little baby. But if you don't leave and you don't do this, then you're never going to know what is that, what is enlightenment, or you never can do those practices. So I think at one point we have to shred, if someone is really ready, you have to shred all these emotional, attachments. And I do have that for my mother, not even an emotional attachment. I just know that she's helpless, and I couldn't find anyone to help her if I disappeared. So it's my mother, and of course I love her, but and I respect her. And that's why I left. And in the past, I suffered a lot because I wanted to find a master. I wanted to live with a group of people and just teach yoga and help, because I also believe in that. that yoga is really, really, Mr. Rao, helping people's health for a while. I mean, we all get old, but for a while it helps. And you know, Mr. Rao, I gave all my money away, all of it. You're talking about, I used to have a house in East Hampton and I sold it with profit. I just really got lucky. All of that was gone. And I paid for all of these things, and I ended up with $25,000 debt. And I had to climb out from it again, and I did. It was very hard. But I don't regret it because, you know, I learned a lot, what normally I wouldn't. So it's all up to me, and I actually understand now that really I am the one. I have to sit down and practice, and maybe if, you know, with some, I mean, we find you and you helping us to teach us, you know, with the Indian mind, which I really appreciate. So I don't want this mishy-mushy mind, you know, like the Western mind. I really want the real thing, you know, the real mind, how I should look at things. And I'm very, very grateful about that. And thank you so much.
Yeah, but I just want one word of caution, which I always do whenever you say this. It is entirely up to Ishvara to decide how we will get our enlightenment. Buddha had to do certain things because it was Ishvara's will. It does not mean everybody has to go through it and everybody has to give up a newborn baby and run away. And even that we don't know. See, in those days, particularly in that part of the world, documenting history was least of importance. The story and message was more important than documenting evidence. Whether Siddhartha, the Prince Siddhartha, really left a young wife and a baby, we don't know. In India, we don't care. What we care is the story told about it and the message told about it. Therefore, historic authenticity is least of the concern as far as an Indian mind is concerned. We don't care. You are free to write your own story about Buddha as long as your messaging is perfect.
I like it.
Yeah, that's how they do it. Therefore, that's why the Purana stories are wide. I've heard even in Judaism also, in Talmud or whatever, every person can go and modify it the way they want. I believe they give you a space blank in every page. You can write your own thing. That's how India does. Indian thing. There are many parallels between the Vedic system and the Jewish system. The point is, the story. It is historic authenticity is not at all important. Whether this God existed, whether they really did all those things, is not important. Is there something you can learn from it is important. Therefore, what we learn from Buddha's thing are three things. One is, obviously, you need to be able to give up. Irrespective of age, size, shape, etc., you must be willing to give up, number one. Number two, trying to go to extreme, he suffered. He got nothing out of his extreme penance. That's why he came to the power of the method of middle, he called, right? He decided, don't go to extremes. Many things he told, which is very, very wonderful for an ordinary life because we don't want extreme. That's another message we learn that.
Chapter 216.
You see that? Yeah. Therefore, that's what is important for us. So, for example, since we've been talking about last two sessions about Ishvara, and I also promised you that Ishvara is in the heart, right? Vita raga vijaye va chittam, that is the 37 we said, meditating the heart is what we told. Now, where is that Ishvara? I told you that in a particular part of Vedas, it is explaining. I told you how to find Ishvara in your heart. So I will read that for you for your benefit. I will send it across later. Right? It goes Sahasra Sirisham Devam Visvaksham Vishvashambhuvam Vishvai Narayana Devam Aksharam Paramam Padam, which means Narayana is considered to be the eternal, imperishable, supreme person, which is got A Sahasra means 1,000. A word 1,000 is used in Vedic text to indicate infinity. Something very large is always called as Sahasra. He is defined as Sahasra Sirsham Deva Viswaksham Vishwa Shambhuvam. That means he's got infinite number of heads, infinite number of eyes. That's what Narayana is defined as. In other words, indirectly it is indicating what is infinite number of heads, infinite eyes, is infinite number of people. That means there is Narayana in every living being. Yeah? Vishvata Paraman Nityam Vishwam Narayanam Harim Vishwame Vedam Purusham Tat Vishwam Upajivati. This universe depends on that kind of entity, Purusha. It survives on that. Otherwise, there is no universe. And if you recognize this, all sins gets burnt off. Patim Vishwasya Atma Ishvaragam Sashvatam Shivam Achyutam Narayanam Mahagneyam Vishwatmanam Parayanam. Right? He is the person who is the creator. It eulogizes all those things. Then it tells like this. Narayana Paro Jyotiratma Narayana Paraha Narayana Parabrahma Tattvam Narayana Paraha Narayana Paro Dhyatam Dhyanam Narayana Paraha. What is this Narayana? It is supreme concept. It is the only reality. It is the divine light. Right? It is the self, supreme self. So on and so forth. Not only it is like this, Yaccha Ginchit Jagat Sarvam Drishyate Shruyate Pima Antar Bahir Lat Sarvam Narayana Stitaha. That Narayana is not in some vague place. Whatever you see outside, the Narayana is in everything. Right? You don't have to run around and go to any other place because Narayana is inside you. Anantam Avyayam Kavigum Samudrentam Vishwashambhuvam Padma Kosha Pratikashagam Hrudayam Cha Api Adhumukham. He is again defined as limitless, imperishable, omniscient, so on and so forth. All that is fine. You say that Narayana is there everywhere, in which case Narayana has to be inside all of us. We have to see him. I know we have head, we have limbs, we have got body, etc. But where is he? Then it starts defining. Ado Nishtya Yanti Nabhya Uparitishtati Jwalamala Kulam Bhati Vishashyayatanam Mahat. Below the Adam's apple, here. Yeah? And above the navel, between the Adam's apple here and the navel, is what we find the heart, the so-called heart, right? That is the abode where you can see. That is not a physical heart. It is called a spiritual heart. Yeah? How? Santadagam chilabityu lambatya kosha sannibham tasyante sudaragam sukshmam tasmin sarvam pratishtitam. In that spiritual heart, it is surrounded by a bunch of arteries. And then this heart is like an inverted lotus bud. If you look at the heart shape, it's like a lotus bud. I don't know whether you had a chance to look at lotus. It is not, opened up with all the petals. That kind of a lotus bud. Tasya madhye mahanagnir vishvato mukaha sograbhu vajantishtam aharam ajarak kavihi. In that heart, that is in between Adam's apple and the navel, and the center, like an inverted lotus bud, there is a spiritual heart which is surrounded by a lot of nerves and blood vessels. In that resides a flaming fire. It never puts out. That fire knows everything. It has got multiple tongues spread everywhere. Tirya Gurdva Madashayi Rashmayastas Santataha Santapairiswam Dehamapadamastakah Tasya Madhye Mahanagir Aniryordva Vyavastitaha. In that kind of effulgent space, when tongues of fire spread everywhere, in the center of that field, tasya madhye vanirshika, in the center, in the fire center, right, in the tongue of fire, yeah, that is where you should look for him. How? Neela toila madhyastha viddu lekeka baswaraha nivara shoka vatanti pitha bhasya anupama. Brilliant like a streak of lightning. In the when you have a, in the rainy season, you can have dark clouds you can see in the sky. Sometimes it's gray, sometimes it's very black, sometimes something blue also. That kind of a blue cloud is there. If lightning were to strike, that kind of form is God. And then if rice come from a grain called paddy. That paddy grain is golden in color. It's golden like that color. And then it is like a minute atom. It is such a small entity. That kind of fire blue is existing there. Tasya shikaya madhye paramatma vyavastitaha. In that kind of a flame in the middle, the Ishvara lives. Yeah? Sa Brahma, sa Shivaha, sa Harihi, sa Indraha, so Aksharaha, Paramaswarat. That Ishvara is the ultimate God. That is in your heart, in between Adam's apple and your navel. There is an inverted picture as an inverted lotus bud, surrounded by blood vessels and nerves, and in that the splendorous light, like a lightning in a gray sky, in a blue sky, in that light, like an atom he lives. That Ishvara is called as Brahma. He is called as Shiva. He is called as Vishnu. He is called of several different names in different parts of the world. And that is the God. Yeah? Ritugum Satyam Parabrahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Urdhvetam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Vai Namo Namaha. Now you know this is the God. This is the Ishvara in your heart. Then you prostrate. You worship. Om Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. That Vasudeva, that Narayana is what we need to worship. Therefore, you are doing yoga every day. You are meditating every day. It does not matter whether you have a Ardha Padmasana or a full Padmasana. Remember this. All these asanas are only aid so that you can sit comfortably. Of course, if you read Hatha Yoga Pradipika and other yoga manual, it tells you Siddhasana is very good, frankly speaking. Padmasana is also good, but sometimes it can cause pain for you. Siddhasana is it's a Sukhasana, it's comfortable. But what is the Siddhasana? They say, you put your left heel below the genitals. Take the right heel, ankle touching on the left heel, and then it is above the genitals. That means that both the heels and the genitals should form a certain vertical line. That will expand your base. Essentially, it expands your base as you sit. Then you become rock steady, and it is very comfortable. Padmasana can potentially, after 30-40 minutes, create problem for many people. But Siddhasana does not. Much longer. It also does, but longer times. Sit there, close your eye, and at any rate, both of you are masters of yoga. You can drive your concentration in any particular part of the body. Though it may not be really required, you can do that. Then concentrate here. Are you able to see me? Is my camera working? Okay. So concentrate here. Keep your backbone vertical. Concentrate here if possible. And then over a period of time, you can see, it may not be exactly like this, but you can see the bright light. That is Ishvara. You can see Ishvara every day. Now, there are several techniques. Sometimes, like Mamyal keeps saying, I concentrate on here, I concentrate here, she keeps saying. But my method is slightly different. The way I have been taught is let the mind not connect with anything. I do not concentrate on anything. I just sit there and slowly the thoughts subside and then you can see the brightness. I'm not concentrating either on the navel, nor the heart, nor the throat here, or Sahasrara here. These are all techniques told. It's not exactly you should do that. If you're able to do that, that's fine. If you're not able, that's also fine because, like I said, Ishvara is the one guiding you. He knows what is your mental status, what is your physical status, what is your emotional status, what is your psychological status, what is your financial status. The expectation is that how can I help you? Like in America, everybody says that, right? How can I help you? That's how they talk. Ishvara really means that. How can I help you? That is the beauty of Ishvara. And he helps. He doesn't simply ask. He helps all the time. Why? Because he is there all the time in you. This is called the Narayana Sukta in Vedas. This is the assurance which is given. Why is this told? When you know this, when you realize this, you don't need to move out of your place. You don't need elaborate temples and churches and mosques and things like that. You don't need all the gold and jewelry and this fancy dress and right. None of it is needed. You don't need to go to any ashram because Deho Devalayaha, body is the temple. Why body is the temple? Because here we said Sa Brahma, Sa Shivaha, Sa Hari, Sa Indra, So Akshara Paramaswarat, Tasya Shikhaya Madmi Paramatma Vyavastitaha. That means in that center Ishvara lives. So when Ishvara is living in your own heart, in your body, why do you need to go anywhere? Because think like that. 40,000 years back, 50,000 years back, let us think of how the world was. When the technology was not there, people did not have any of those instruments, electricity was not there. What kind of temples they could have built, you think about it? Today. Maybe one pyramid is here, one big temple is in India is there, but go further beyond. Let's go billion years back when the creation, so-called creation originated. What temple was there? Everything was a forest, water, hills and things like that, right? So does it mean those people who were living at that time did not have any opportunity or technique to get enlightenment? Then it is not a good God, right? That is why in India the concept of anadi is given, that is unoriginated. You cannot fix anything as origin because then you have to say what happened before that. God is very partial before that. Therefore they say these things are unoriginated, anadi. It's going on an infinite cycle. That means whenever human mind can picture or imagine as that point in time where creation happened, even before that all these facilities were given. That is, when we are sent to this world as human beings, Ishvara packed all the lunch box with us, and like we send the children to school, he packed the lunch box, he got inside all of us and came along with us. So that not one person in the world needs to worry, oh my God, where will I go for Ishvara? Not one living being need to worry. I'm here. Before the idea, the notion of omnipresence, that God is everywhere, is a logical one. It should not be understood like we understand physics and chemistry, that molecules spread everywhere, that kind of a thing. It's not like that. In fact, in one point of view, in India stretches this to an ultimate limit by saying that it is not only that Ishvara is present everywhere, Ishvara is everywhere. It's not that Ishvara is a different entity. What you see is Ishvara. In fact, here itself, you see one of the statements says, right, in the beginning, let me read again. Yacha kinchit jagat sarvam. Whatever little things you see in this universe, drishyate, shruyate, piva. Whatever you see or whatever you hear, antar bahir tatsvaram vyapya narayana stitaha. Whatever you can imagine, whatever you can conceptualize, whatever you can see, whatever you can hear, inside everything, Narayana is there. It made such an open statement. Instead of saying he is there, he is there. He says whatever you can think. That means assurance is given based on your ability, your tendency, your way of thinking. It is not that there is some absolute standard defined by somebody unconnected with you, and all of us will have to follow this, or else we are all sinners. It's not like that. In your current status, in my status, current state of living, whatever I can imagine and picture, he is there. Tomorrow, if I change my understanding, he is there. Somebody helps us to understand this world very differently, he is there. That is assurance given. That's what when Patanjali Yoga Sutra tells, when it tells you in that 44, I think, not 44, yeah, 37, right? Vitaraga Vishayam Va Vichittam, on meditating on the heart of an illuminated soul that is free from passion. Then in 36 also it says, right? Vishoka Va Jyotishmati, by fixing the mind upon the inner light. This is what it is. Right? We went through this last time, if you remember. Yes, Mira.
So, yes, I mean, I used to focus on my heart for a long time, for many years. And what my experience was, Mr. Rao, it was full of garbage. So I had to clean my heart first and had to let go a lot of things and a lot of, judgment against others. I find in my heart, competition. I find things in my heart I didn't even know that it existed. And very, very slowly. And I told you that I used to fight with myself, because one part of my brain wanted to refuse that, no, it's not me. I'm a good person. But the other part of my brain or my being brought all of that garbage out. So when someone focuses on the heart, a lot of things, they come up. And it takes a long time. And I'm not saying that to you now that I still don't have things in my heart, but now I know it's me. And also if something happens, which I would be very upset in the past and would think about it or get really angry about it or, just don't like it, I can let it go very, very quickly. And I don't, because I know it's me deep down. I know. So this sounds very nice. I mean, I didn't experience light yet. I mean, I was experiencing sometimes, like purple light, not blue. But most of the time I did not get, and I could focus actually in the middle of my chest very precisely. I could go there with my mind, but and then it was very interesting. It was pulling up from my belly up to the middle, the energy when I focused in the middle. And after a while, Mr. Rao, I felt exhausted because I was fighting with myself with all this garbage. So after a while, I get so exhausted that I started to eat to replace, just automatically. I started to, put a lot of food to get some energy. So I don't know how it goes. These are technical things also, Mr. Rao, but this is my experience with the focusing on heart. I'm not so advanced like you are, because you, with your mind, of course you're a great master, but I didn't get with my mind to let these things go. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Got it. Let us not compare. It's up to each other to judge who is advanced, who is not advanced. We do not know. We cannot judge each other. That is not the issue here. We try to share our experience and hopefully we help each other. That's what we are doing here. Mind is always a mix of. Let us recognize this. If we had burnt all our muck, dirt, negative things from ourselves in our last birth, we wouldn't be born today. The very fact that we are born means that we have still got a lot of muck in us. But we don't have to feel bad about it, because that is the process, right? That is the process which is given by birth after birth. We keep trying. At one point in time, we burn everything away and Ishvara takes us to the right place. When this assurance is given by Ishvara, we should not worry about it. And definitely, like I gave the example of fountain pen last time, when you try to clean the mind, the first thing which comes out is tremendous amount of dirt. That's what cleaning is all about. What is the surprise there? The cleaning is all about it. You get into the ditch, first what happens is you stink. When you try to clean the ditch, you get dirty first.
Yes.
That's how the cleaning process works. So don't worry about that.
And I'm worried.
Yeah.
I'm curious. That's why the reason I stopped, Mr. Rao, because, I handled a lot of things within me, but also I recognize that this is exhausting, and I can go on for another 100 years with this. So it has no, it's just not useful.
Yeah.
So I would like to go back to my belly and have more energy and collect more energy there. Because as I told you before, I feel it when someone focuses on the heart, the energy pulls up, automatically from the belly. So someone has to have someone has to have a lot of energy in the belly to able to sustain and go on with this kind of a practice. What do you think, Mr. Rao?
Yes, definitely. That is why it is called tapas, or it's like an oven. Body is like an oven. It's a heating process. That's how it is defined. It's called a tapa because it heats, it consumes energy. Therefore, that is why it is very important to maintain a healthy body, because we went through earlier sutras also, right? If you do not have a healthy body, there is no way you are able to go do these things. Therefore, it does consume energy. Therefore, let's take step by step. It consumes energy, yes. You have to feed in energy, yes. How? There are several ways. One is, like you say, you eat. Physically, we eat. That is one way. In fact, in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, they even give a technique in which the body itself can generate the necessary energy.
Wow.
There is something called Amrita Bindu in the body. That is if you want the nearest equivalent, it can be seen as some kind of a gland. You may have read about it, there is something called Kechari Mudra. That mudra is a practice that can, shall we say, put it in a nice way, that can encourage this gland to provide a drop of that energy, which is enough for the whole day. That is why they say very accomplished Hatha yogis don't eat for several days, because they can trigger this Amrita Bindu to provide the energy which is necessary to sustain the body for a day. There are a lot of things there. The text will come to that a little later, because we need to we have to finish this chapter of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Then we can go to Hatha Yoga Pradipika, read certain chapters, come back here. That's the way I am planning, so that you understand how these things are elaborated in Hatha Yoga Pradipika. But the point is, we should not get lost in that. None of that is important, honestly speaking. The one and only thing which is important is, if Narayana Sukta, which we just now studied, tells us that Narayana is in your heart in the form of inverted lotus, in the form of a spark, light. Can you see him is the question. That's only 11th thing. Everything else is a technique. Like I told you in the beginning of today's conversation, some people branch off after picking up some skills in yoga, they branch off taking devotion. I told you how even morning to night, all the activities they intertwine with this thinking and praying to Ishvara, how they intertwine that I explained to you. Some people go for analytical approach. They talk endlessly, analyze endlessly. That's nothing is good, nothing is bad. Everything is a method. It appeals to different types of people. That's all is necessary. The main objective is trying to see Ishvara and trying to understand who really we are and what is our relationship with that Ishvara who is indwelling. And then rest is up to him to take the journey forward, whichever way it is. That is how. That's why I'm saying this sutra style is to condense 2-3 pages into one or two words. I read the entire sloka of part of Vedas. The entire 2-3 pages have been condensed in one line, 3-4 words. That's it. Because the sutra style is that. It's structured like this. That's why it takes time to go in detail, try to go back and forth, take the corresponding elaborating text. Because our human mind's problem is if things are told in a very brief way, we don't understand. If things are elaborated, we don't have patience to go through, we don't understand. Any which way, we don't understand. That is our human mind's trap. The dirt which Mirel you talked about, one of the dirt is that. We have to unbias ourselves. That is, for whatever reason, each one of us tend to believe that this is how things should be. But therefore, we look at the whole world from the lens of our conviction that this is how it should be. That is why there's an extreme view in India. One of the philosophers maintain a view that in this universe, there's only one person, that is you. Everybody else is nothing but your imagination of what they are. The universe is not populated by 7.5 billion people. It is populated by one person who thinks how everybody else are.
Yes.
So, but that is a problem, right?
Yes.
That is why we need to, as they say, unlearn quite a lot of things, unburden ourselves, remove all mental blocks, and recognize. For example, even the definition that I have a lot of muck is a concept because you predefine what is muck, what is good and what is muck. Based on your predefinition, you say you have a lot of good things in mind or a lot of bad things in mind. Therefore, the Buddhist technique and particularly some other technique is that you let the mind wander when you are in meditation. You are not trying to concentrate on any particular chakra or the part of the body. You are not trying to do the japa or repetitive utterance of the particular mantra. You're not doing any of those things. Rather, you let the mind wander and keep watching the thoughts. Then automatically the thoughts subside. Then you become virtually thoughtless. Mind becomes still. Then you watch that mind which is still. When that moment comes, you suddenly feel It is not the mind which is still, you are still. It's not, mind looks like a long, huge, calm lake. You are the calm lake. You get to that realization, that understanding. Yes, Mira.
Yes, so Mr. Rao, what I really appreciate what you're saying, and I'm listening to you. Where is Mary? What happened?
I don't know. Suddenly she's not there.
Yes. So I just feel, Mr. Rao, that this is where yoga, the asana practice, comes in very handy. And that's why I am so grateful that I could, teach yoga and practice yoga, not even teach, just share yoga practice. I'm far away from being a yoga teacher, a real yoga teacher yet. So just share practice with others, because I think that with bodily movements and with asana practice, actually, all this garbage, what we have in our heart, actually falls away and clears out eventually. So I I do believe in that, Mr. Rao, that people, like many times people sit down and try to talk about these things, like we study about this, right? But if we don't do some kind of a practice and put it into some kind of practice, it just stays in the book and nothing ever happens. And in my view, the easiest way to really get to that point when we can meditate and we can know our higher self is, and cleaning our body is through physical practice first. And wherever I have blocks and I have pain and all of these asanas, yeah, to open it up and say that to myself, that yes, if I cannot open up my body, how can I open up my mind? So that's why I am so grateful to able to practice asanas, and also very, very, very grateful to you for all of this teaching, Mr. Rao. Would you like me to call Mary? What happened to her? Or
Sure, absolutely, please.
yes, I don't know what happened to her. Mr. Rao, have you ever practiced as a young person yoga?
Yeah,
And you stop with the asana practice. You don't practice asanas anymore.
I do. Till recently, till last year, I was doing. But right now, I'm focusing a lot more on treadmill rather than yoga. But otherwise, I was doing almost every day.
Yes, I wish we could see you practice yoga.
Oh,
Because you're so advanced.
no. I must be very honest here. You are in yoga, physical yoga. You are the master. You are teaching others.
No. We are not Master Rao. We are seriously. I'm not trying to be overly humble here. I'm very honest to you. I would tell you, no, no master here. Let me just see, Mary. Where is Mary's number?
Yeah, maybe it's late for her.
Mary says, what happened? Okay, let me just see. Hold on.
She has to rejoin. That's it.
Uh-huh. I just call her. It's even better, quicker. Mary, I don't know. Please log on again, because we are waiting for you.
I've been trying the whole time. It won't let me do it. It keeps. I'm in there, but nobody's there.
Yeah, no, we are here. Maybe you can just log off totally and just.
I did 3 times in a row. I'm going to try again now. I've been doing that the whole time.
Maybe you want to shut off your computer and turn your computer on.
It's getting late. Maybe we can end here, so we can continue next time.
Or maybe we just finish with the meeting and then, what would you like, Mr. Rao?
I think we can close for the day. It's getting late for her too.
Yes.
So close for the day and we can continue next time.
Yes, so we're going to finish with the meeting, and then I will call you back, after the meeting. I am so grateful that you are here, and we'll see you next time, next Saturday. Hello?
Yeah, I had some questions too bad. I really wanted to.
Yeah. You want to, and then try it, like log off totally, shut your computer.
Okay. Here is what I suggest. All of us can log off. I will start the meeting again, then maybe it will work for her.
Yes. Maybe we're going to start a meeting again. Okay? He's good. Okay? Perfect. Okay.
Bye then.
Yes. Bye, Mr. Rao.